Okay, yeah, whatever. It should be fine.
All right, cool.
Okay. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So do you want to introduce?
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Anson Noland, and I am a fourth year graduating senior in EAP, majoring in biochemistry.
Great. Great introduction. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's start with my first question. So, where are your parents from, and what do you identify as?
Um, my my parents were raised in California. They were both born in Missouri though, and I'm white. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Good to clarify. Um, so, what were your career goals as a child, and how do they differ from your current aspirations?
Well, I think as a child, I wanted to be an architect for a really long time. That was like my main goal. I met a bunch of architects, and I had this Lego architecture set that I would build, and I would like draw blueprints all the time, and that was really fun. Um, but of course, now my career aspirations are as a research scientist and not as an architect. Although I think there's a kind of a little bit of similarity in what I do now, just in the methodology of it, like making models and diagrams and things like that. I think that that's something I still like to do, and it's still a big part of the research I do.
Great. So, you said that you were doing research, correct? So,
Yes.
Um, what exactly, like, are you planning to do after you graduate?
So after I graduate this fall, I will be starting a PhD program in chemistry at UC San Diego. And then my goal after that, we'll see. After that, I'll do either academia or I'll get a job in industry.
I see. And can you walk me through the process of like going through PhD program and like grad school and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, should I start with? I guess I should start with the application.
Yeah.
I started my applications last semester, and I was so glad when they were done, just because I applied. You have to research where you want to apply, and at least in my field, and I think most science fields in general, you have to like figure out where the people are in your specific specialty. So, for example, I do a specific type of computational chemistry, and so I wanted to apply to universities where there's faculty working in that field. So researching where I wanted to apply and then actually doing the applications was like a big part of my time last semester, so I was really glad when it was done. And then now that I've been admitted, then you go and you figure out which one you actually want to go to of the ones you got in. And then just last Friday, I confirmed my acceptance to UCSD. And so now in the fall, I'll start my first year. And so at least for that program, first year you're doing classes and you're working as a TA. And you might join a research lab, but you're also, like some people are rotating, trying to figure out which one they want to join. And then once you join one, after your first year, that's when you get like full-time into actually doing research. And then towards the end, you write your thesis and graduate, hopefully.
Very nice. Very nice. So, why did you pick, why did you choose this school, UC San Diego?
Yeah, there were a couple of things. I mean, first off, there were several people doing the type of research I do. Romeo Morrow and Francesco Paisani, and then like a couple of older scientists like Andy McCammon. So there were a lot of people at San Diego that were doing the research I liked. And then also, it's a really nice location, and it seems like a nice place to live. There were a couple other ones I was looking at where the location just wasn't what I was looking for. And, it's fairly close to family. Yeah, I think all the factors just kind of lined up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Definitely. Was there a pivotal moment that led you on your current path within either schooling or your personal life?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about one specific moment, but I think that there were kind of like moments that I planned for. Like, first year, when I was figuring out which courses I was going to take, I was planning to try to figure out, okay, if I like my chemistry classes, then I'll stick with it. Because when I came in, I didn't know I was going to major in biochemistry. I was considering it, but I also thought about doing maybe anthropology or something. So I think that what kind of brought me into doing biochemistry was, I think, like taking the intro classes. You don't always like the intro. Like, I mean, general chemistry, it was fine. I somewhat enjoyed it, but it's not like I was like, oh my god, I love this so much, I want to major in it. But there were like other more specific classes, like Intro to Biomolecules. That was a class I really enjoyed. And then also getting involved in research was something that kind of just connected everything for me. So like especially now. So the research that I was doing when I first joined my research lab, that made all the classes that I was taking kind of make more sense, and it made me understand the importance of them. Like, organic chemistry it's fine, but when I realized, oh, this is why I'm learning these things, and this is how it's actually going to apply to the research I do, that's what really, I'd say that's like the pivotal moment where everything kind of connects, when I realize what the classes I'm taking, how that relates to, the research I'm doing.
Yeah. Sure. Big audience came in.
Yeah.
So.
Can you answer questions from the audience?
Yeah, Dan.
I mean, if you have a question, just raise your hand.
What is your best experience with your friends?
Oh, I've had so many. My best experience with my friends. I mean, I would have to go through like all my photos and see which one the best. But one that I really enjoyed was for my birthday, for my 18th birthday. For my 18th birthday, we all went and got lunch, and we just kind of drove around. Like, we went and got ice cream, and it was just fun to have the whole group together. And yeah, but there's been so many.
Thank you.
So
yeah. Oh, I think we got another.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
What's the craziest thing I've ever done?
Yes, that you can legally admit.
Oh, huh.
Jersey Boy.
I don't know. Well, let me come back to that question at the end so I have time to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, there's another question. Yes.
How does being beardless affect your daily interactions?
Well,
He has more friends now.
yeah. So for context, I shaved last Friday. I used to have a beard. I think it's been good. I think everybody's been.
You look handsome.
Thank you.
Look lovely.
Yeah. That's kind of been the general reaction I've got from people so far. So I think it's been a good reaction. I think it has positively affected my social interactions. Yeah.
So you said you like hanging out with friends. Is there anything else to do as hobbies, or something else to do in your free time?
Yeah. I mean, I like to read. That's kind of a boring one, but that's something that I've. Yeah, I mean, so for a long time I just didn't read because I had to read so much for school. But then I started actually reading again. Right now I'm reading House of Leaves. I've like just started it, but it's good. It's like weird. Like it's a book that like it's kind of like meta. Like it like shifts like the fabric of the book. Like it's got like it's supposed to be about the book, but it's like uses the space of the pages and stuff. It's really interesting. Yeah, what else do I do? I've got a dog. I've got a lot of pets, so I spend a lot of time with my pets.
Okay.
I've got a dog named Henry, and he's 7 months old, like as of a couple days ago. And I've also got 2 cats that are now about a year old.
Do you find it hard to manage your time with your pets and school in general?
Not particularly. Thankfully, I have, like my sister and my mom who also help take care of the animals. If it was just me, that would probably be more to do. But no, it's great. I can take them on walks. I can play with my dog, play catch or fetch. Yeah, yeah.
So you're talking about how you read books, right?
Yeah.
Is there a piece of media, like book or film or
Mhm.
TV show, that holds a special place in your heart that you kind of connect with?
Yeah, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran is a really, I think it's just a really beautiful book to read. It's very philosophical, but it's got some just really like beautiful life lessons in it. That's something that definitely holds a special place in my mind and also my heart.
Um, okay, so not last semester, or like the past 2 years or so, you've
Mhm.
been affected by COVID, right? So
Yes.
how
Yeah.
has the COVID pandemic affected you and your typical ways of life?
Um, well, I mean, when it started, I was just a second year, and now I'm graduating, and I've only been on campus for like two of those semesters, and like not even last semester because I was only on campus like 2 days a week. So, it's kind of, I do feel like I missed out on a lot of like being on campus stuff, but overall, it really didn't affect me too poorly. Like I still managed to, stay afloat in all my classes and finish them and, actually learn something from them. I was lucky with my research because I do computational work, so I was able to keep it going, remotely.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had been in an actual like lab doing experiments and
It'd be more difficult.
yeah, that would have been a lot more difficult.
Um, so how did you find it hard to manage your like friendships, relationships through um, online setting?
Yeah. I mean, like at first there was like several months where I just didn't see any of my friends, but I think we've all been good about uh, keeping in touch and staying together. And I mean, now we're here in person, so I see them all the time now.
Yeah. Very nice. Are there any key inspirational figures who have been crucial to your path to success?
Um, Definitely my advisor, Dr. Nuremberg. Uh, Research-wise, he's like taught me everything I know,
Yeah.
basically. Other inspirational figures, I think. mm, I mean, that's like a main inspiration, like just intellectually,
Yeah.
because that's what I find interesting and what I'm passionate about, and so that's somebody that I look up to. Other than that, I think. I mean, obviously, like I don't know, my mom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
of course,
of
I
course,
I look up to my mom, and she's been there for me for everything, with my education. So that's an important one. I guess just like my family in general. I mean, like my sister. Yeah.
Yeah. All very important
Yeah.
to how you are. Um, was there any moment in your undergraduate career where you were unsure of your path?
Yeah, definitely. Um, Definitely first year because I didn't even know what I was gonna major in. Even at the end of it, I didn't know what I was gonna major in. And then even after like to be honest, I actually wasn't sure what I was gonna major in. Like even though I was taking all the biochemistry classes, I wasn't sure of it until like end of my second year because I remember uh, being like, oh wait, I haven't declared my major yet, and having to like send them because it was online at that time. I was like, hey, I need to declare my major. I've taken all the required classes. Can you please add me to being a biochemistry major? And they were like, oh yeah, sure. So I definitely wasn't sure of it for a little while, and I also wasn't sure of like what I should have been doing outside of classes for a little while, and I think that this is probably true for a lot of other biochemistry people. But there was a time where I thought, oh, maybe I should be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I was more passionate about research, but there's a time where I was like, oh wait, maybe I should be a doctor. So then I was like, oh, then I need to volunteer at the hospital and I need to shadow physicians and all this kind of stuff. So there was a time where I wasn't sure of what I should be doing besides like my classes, and then I realized, oh, I can get involved in student government, ASI. That's another thing we can talk about, I'm sure.
We'll get to that.
Um, but yeah, I definitely there were many times where I was unsure of my path.
Sure. Sure. We can go into ASI now, I guess. So, what other, I guess,
I think
clubs?
we've got an
Yeah,
audience question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing you regret not trying or not doing throughout your career in constantly?
Oh, I think that I regret not taking, like, I mean, in the first year you're taking all those GE classes, and sometimes it is like just a lot of reading and it's a lot of, just a lot of stuff to get done. But I kind of regret not taking more time then to like just enjoy, like, just enjoy the time, and getting more involved in campus earlier would have been something I would say. Like with clubs, and maybe making more friends outside of EAP. Like, I've got a few through my classes, but I think that that's something that would have been interesting if I had maybe reached out a little bit more to people in my classes.
Um, so, speaking of outside of E and like other. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
another question.
yeah.
What is computational chemistry and why?
Oh, okay.
Why are you taking it? Not,
That's a really good question. That's something I could talk for a long time about, but we've got time, so I will. So computational chemistry, I mean, it's a subset of chemistry, but in itself, it's a really broad field because there's a lot of different aspects of it. But I guess the core philosophy of it is trying to recreate like the physical properties of matter, of chemistry, computationally. And so, as you can imagine, that involves a lot of physics because you're going down to the basics of how things interact, like literally how atoms interact. And so there's lots of different levels of how you represent that, from like very, very, very accurate to what's actually going on, to coming up with models to model that and try to get them to be as accurate as possible without being so computationally expensive, because then it just takes more time to run and you've only got so much time. I think that's kind of like the main thing that allows you to understand it is cost versus accuracy. You're trying to get the most accurate methods possible to be the least expensive for you to run so that you can actually learn something from them in the time that you have to work with them. And then the applications of it are mostly, I think one of the main things is modeling biomolecules. That's something that I am interested in. So proteins and DNA and drug molecules. So using that to discover new medicines is something that's kind of like one of the big applications of it. And then as for why I find it interesting, just because you're dealing with, you're breaking down, you're trying to understand everything we know on such a small level that you can recreate it in an environment, on the computer, in an environment that that it isn't a part of. So yeah.
It's very in depth. Right. So back to what was it? ASI. So
Mhm.
you said how there's like tell me what ASI is and other clubs that you've joined.
Yeah.
Outside of
Yeah, so ASI is the student government on campus for all students, not just EAPsters. And there's many different positions within it that do a lot of different things. When I joined, I was a senator, so I was a student senator that sits on the academic senate with all the faculty that vote on the policies that apply to being a student here on campus. And that was really interesting because, I mean, every single policy that comes onto the floor of the Senate, even if it might seem kind of boring or mundane, it's a real policy that after you vote on it is going to take effect and apply to students and teachers here. So, something as simple as like course evaluations for professors, you're voting on how course evaluations are going to affect professors. So that was, and then there's plenty of other areas within it, like representatives from each college, the board of directors votes on a lot of things pertaining to the organization. club funding is a big one. If you're involved with a club, you probably know about ASI because that's where you're getting a considerable amount of funding. And yeah, my involvement in it was as a senator for a couple of years, and then now I'm the vice president of academic governance, who basically oversees the senators.
That's nice. Are there any other clubs or anything like organizations outside of ASI that you've been a part of?
Yeah. I was part of. I am a part of Chem and Biochem Club. I don't think we've done that many events this semester, but that's also a fun one if you're in chemistry or biochemistry, because it lets you meet people in your major, and also have events that are like career development events for chemistry majors or biochemistry majors, and networking events. Yeah, it's great.
For sure. Let's go a bit more into this. Is there a quote or some nugget of knowledge which has popped up in your head several times during your academic career?
Wait, I've got a list of quotes on my phone that I will.
Yeah.
I write down quotes that I find interesting when I find them. Here we go. Okay, here's one. It is by logic that we prove, but by intuition that we discover. That's one I like. Another one is, reputation is what other people know about you. Honor is what you know about yourself. Yeah, I think those are two that I really like.
I like that. Okay. So you are in your fourth year, so
Yes.
You've been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
How has your idea of what makes an EAPster changed over your time in the program?
That's a good question. Well, I think EAP itself is kind of always changing, just because there's only so many students. It's usually, like between 100 and 120 at pretty much all times. So it's I think what it means to be an EAPster is kind of very much defined by who's in the program right now. Because being part of EAP, it is all kind of like one big family. Even if you're not super close friends with someone, you still are pretty much friends with everybody. And so, yeah, I think what it means to be an EAPster kind of changes over time, just with who's in the program and what kind of people they are. Yeah. When I was in my first year, I think that my understanding of what an EAPster is has changed as I've gone through the years, because I've gone from being, the first year with everybody else like more knowledgeable and more experienced than me, to now being the person doing an EAP senior interview. So yeah, that's changed I think ultimately it's just, don't be intimidated by anyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
And just do you.
Everyone's all friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Adding on to that, do you think EAP was the right choice for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I came here after a year of high school, and I really hated my first year of high school. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't the environment for me. And then I came to EAP, and I knew it was right for me. And even when it's hard or when you're struggling, I still knew that this is a good place to be for me. And now at the end of it, I'm just so grateful to have been able to be an EAPster. Yeah.
So why would the Anson of Honors Academy, or probably somewhere, be proud of the Anson that we see before us today?
That's another good question. I think that he would be proud that I know what path I'm on, and that I'm on that path and I'm accomplishing things. And I think he'd also be proud that my life is very balanced right now in terms of work and just personal life and just relaxing and friendships and really everything. I think that that's what he'd be most proud of, is that my life is balanced, and that I've found a path, and I'm on that path with everything I've got.
That's what I did. That's what I did. Uh, so we can go a bit more into the philosophical
Sure.
version of this, I guess. What are your thoughts regarding failure and perfectionism?
One thing that I think that I've learned over the past, over my education is, well, it's really learning how to learn, and that includes learning learning how much effort to put in, and learning when it's necessary to accept a little bit of failure on one thing so that you can give more of your time to something that's a little bit more important. Yeah, I think learning how to manage your time and manage your performance, and being okay with learning from failure, but also, yeah, I think knowing how to balance your time to accomplish the most important things to you, while still, I mean, I'm not saying don't try on certain tasks. Definitely, always strive to accomplish things, but know your limits, and I guess knowing your limits is part of learning from your failures and learning from your mistakes.
On that, was there a specific class or subject that you took that you found particularly difficult, or?
Yeah, organic chemistry. I ended up doing okay at the end, but during most of it, I was really struggling, and yeah, I wasn't absorbing a lot of the information, and it just, yeah, I didn't know how to learn from that class,
Yeah.
so I didn't do so well at first. And like I said, I was able to bring my grade back up, and everything was fine in the end. But I think that was something where my understanding of it was just, I just never really got it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, it's really hard. Actually, I've taken it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not easy. It is not easy. What was I gonna ask? I was gonna ask something, but it just crossed my mind. All good. I guess. What could you tell us a little bit more about your research lab and the things you do?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So my research lab is Dr. Nuremberg's research lab in the physics department. That was, oh, but yeah, by the way, that was something that I was like kind of worried about at first, was that I was a biochem major and I joined a physics lab. And so at first I was really like, oh, will I be able to get the research units for doing it's a biophysics lab, so we're supposed to bio 4900 and physics 4900. So I was like, oh, will I be able to get the bio 4900 units applied to my major as elective units? And everybody else was in a chemistry lab, and I was the only one in a physics lab. But it's about what you're actually doing, not what the department is. And what I was doing is like I said, it's very chemistry related, but it also does use a lot of physics. And I think that knowing that has made me a better chemist. But so my research lab, what we do is generally it's all like molecular dynamics. Computational chemistry, molecular simulation. A lot of it is specifically force fields, which is basically the functions that are behind the simulation, what you're telling the computer to compute at each point. So that's something we work on, and that's kind of what my thesis is on, is kind of like a specific model that could possibly be a part of that. And that's a project that I've worked on for a long time. Yeah.
And the thesis is coming up soon, right?
Yes, yeah, I have my defense in like a couple of weeks.
Are you nervous?
Not really.
No?
I've got it pretty much done, and I know my stuff, and now it's just presenting it. So yeah.
So, do you have any advice for future Easters, or just users who wish to join research labs and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think really research each one and know which one you want to join. But also do join. I am very grateful for all the time that I spent there. I don't wish I joined it earlier, but I'm definitely glad that I didn't join it later. I think that I joined it the summer after my first year. You definitely don't have to join it the summer after your first year, but I think that all the time you can spend in it is just really useful. I guess that also depends on your field, but find one that you're interested in and talk to the professor about if you'd be a good fit. Because maybe you wouldn't be. Maybe the coursework you've taken, maybe you need to take a couple more classes to join, or maybe they can point you in the direction of one that you might actually like a little bit more. But yeah, I think that finding one that you're interested in, talking with a professor. Also talk with other students that you know that are in the lab. That's a big one. That's just a good way to know what's required of you, what's expected of you while you're a student there. Yeah.
So Ryan told me this, that you had some kind of opportunity with UC Irvine to do some research.
Yeah. So that was a summer research experience that I did. That's actually a good one that I should talk about. If you're a student in a science field, actually, I think you can even do it if you're not in the science field, like if you're in a social science field too, and you've got a summer, and you're interested in research, doing an REU or research experience for undergrads it's a great experience because it's paid, and you get to do it at another institution. So basically, you get to show to another person your skills, and so if you want a letter of recommendation, you now have one from someone from a different institution, and both can kind of attest to your skills as a researcher. So for that, I did research over the summer at UC Irvine, last summer at UC Irvine in David Mobley's lab there, and similar to what I'm doing right now, but yeah, it's really a great experience. You get more research experience. You get it in a new field, a new project, and you get another person who can attest to your skills, and you get paid, which is it's good pay too. So it's a pretty great experience. Yeah.
Do you want to mention
Yeah. I used to be involved in Eve Club as a social chair at one point, and I'm not really any longer. But that's fun. That was fun. I mean, even though my involvement has not really been existent this semester, I do love Eve Club, and I love all the events that we put on. And yeah, I mean, if you're just for all Eves, come to all the Eve Club events. They're so much fun, and you get to meet people, and you get to socialize outside of your year, and it's just a great way to stay in touch with everybody.
For sure. Well, we're in the end, I guess. Is there anything you wanted to add, or we can just anything else you want me to go into?
Was that
anything else you want me to go into?
Not particularly. I think that I think my last words to everybody will be just if you're looking for guidance or looking for a path to take, just find something that excites you, or find something that interests you, or talk to somebody who might know of something, and in the end, things tend to work themselves out. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Noland.
And don't stress too much about school, because, like I said, in the end, it really all works out.
For sure. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.